Last week I told you, so you got 400 questionnaires in front of you there now, right? Last week I told you that when you get a complete set of data in front of you, it is wise to run frequencies for all the nominal questions, and it's wise to run medians and percentiles for all the ordinal questions, and it is wise to run means and standard deviations for the intervally scale and the ratio scale questions. Because remember, the intervally scale questions assume the number line, and the ratio scale questions are on the number line. They're true numbers. So I told you, as we said here, you run a percentage or frequency for your nominally scale questions, you run a median and a percentile, and you run an interval or ratio. For the interval and ratio variables, you run a mean and standard ratio. Look, it's right there. Look, this is on your SPSS handout on e-learning. But this is what I want to tell you. When you look at Dwayne's handout, he does actually show you as you go from step to step to step when you're running the test. But he doesn't give you a summary like this. That's why you need to use Dwayne's handout with mine. Mine is just a short little something to tell you when you have a nominal and you are just looking at that nominal question on its own, because I'm going to show you how to run question analysis singularly, and then I'm going to show you how to look at relationships. So these is what Dwayne will call descriptive statistics in his handout. Descriptive statistics. You're just describing people. You're just profiling. So anytime you're describing or profiling, you are just looking at each individual question on the questionnaire on its own. And my advice to you is to do that first. Don't go into looking at any relationships. Do that first and then look at that data and see what that data is saying to you. This is training for doing this if you have to work for somebody. The first thing you do is look at each and every question on its own and get a description of what the data is saying to you. So I call the describing, I call it profiling as well. Profiling. All right? So when I look at that Bubba's data, it will say to me, yes, that you can do a demographic profile of the persons going in there. You can do a behavioral profile of the persons going in there. And you can look at their key attitudes on all the aspects of Bubba's. Remember I told you, if you want to measure how somebody felt about you, you will have to measure a lot of different things. Question 6 is kind of similar to, do I like the facilities at UB? Do I like the lecturers? Do I like the grading scheme? Do I like my prospects for the future? Question 6 looks at all the aspects of a sports bar, and it looks at the attitudes of the 400 persons who were surveyed on it. All right? So for me, that is looking at key attitudes and opinions. Key attitudes and opinions. So for those intervally scale questions, I will be running what? Means and standard deviations. For the demographic profile, tell me which questions you will look at to profile the persons who come into Bubba's demographically. So when I look at those questions in a preliminary fashion, I can describe the data, listen to me good, and I can profile it. I remember when I gave the SPS assignment, I asked people to do a psychographic profile for me and a demographic profile. I said, man, well, we don't know what you mean. Think about it. You are marketers. We want to see which segments are coming into Bubba's, which ones are more prevalent in Bubba's. So when I look at age, I want to see what is the most common age range that is coming in Bubba's. When I look at gender, I want to know if more men just come in there than women. If they got 2 men coming in there for every woman, that tells me something, okay, about my segment. So I want to do a demographic profile. I want to see what my segments are like coming in Bubba's every week. Because remember, this was done with persons who come to Bubba's. I want to look at a behavioral profile. When I talk about behavioral profile, remember you could do behavioral segmentation. How do they behave in Bubba's, or how do they relate to Bubba's? So what are some of the questions I will look at for behavioral profile? Look at the question here, man. What's their favorite sport? What do they draw from Bubba's? Why do they come there? Anything else? 3? What does 3 say? The major reason. Anything else? Behavioral? How much they drink? You see that question out there? Brenda, can you sign up? You hit me with a curveball every other class. I like you. All right. Anything else that's behavioral? Come on, man. Huh? How often they come, and when they come. So I want you now, first of all, to give me a demographic profile of the folks at Bubbles. And I want you to scribble, have a little notebook, and I want you to scribble, the typical Bubbles customer is yada, 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 yada. So run the statistics for me, and then I want you to give me a little write-up. You're writing a report. Then I want you to run a behavioral profile for me, and then I want you to tell me how they line up on key attitudes and opinions. So for the demographic profile, those will be nominally scaled questions. What are you going to be running? Percentages. Okay, for the behavioral profile, what will you be running? Those are nominally scaled questions. You will also be running percentages. And for the key attitudes and opinions, you'll be running what? Because those are intervally scaled. You'll be running what? Means and standard deviations. All right, hold on a minute. I didn't tell you how to run the test, though. Oh, they're getting frightened. So run it when itself. No, so I didn't say that, miss. I didn't say run it on the 7, miss. I never said that. All right, so you got to write down these commands because Dwayne will have them, but I won't have them. They're going to be in Dwayne's handout. All right, so I want to tell you all now, first of all, how to run a percentage or a frequency. So Devnish, y'all better read Devnish's handout. Devnish is going to show all the screenshots. Huh? But I can just give you the commands. Click analyze. If you started, go back to the start and follow me. Click analyze. Are you following me, man? And then we come down to descriptive statistics. We describe it. Descriptive statistics. And we click frequencies, or we could click frequencies. So write that down. Analyze descriptive statistics, frequencies. Write that down. In fact, you know what? I got it here, you know. Because on the front page of your handout, I don't have it. Look, yeah, you see, Lisa's saying I got it. Look at here, look. It at the front. These ones here. Analyze descriptive statistics, frequencies. Right? So at the front of that, we have it. All righty? Now, I don't want you to put over, you're building for me a demographic profile. So I want you to identify the demographic questions and send them over. Click them one by one, and then click them over to the right side with the middle arrow. You will see all the variables come on the left. So I want you to just click over the demographic questions. Click over the demographic questions, and then I want you to click OK. Don't click OK yet, though. I want to show you something. So click over the demographic questions only. I'm coming, Mr. Gay. You've lost me again. I'm here again. So analyze descriptive statistics. That is at the front. Frequencies. You see all the variables defined on the left. I want you just to pull out the demographic questions and click them over to the right. Y'all in trouble?
Yeah. I guess I had this wrong because the wrong place.
Analyze.
Right, you went through that, but it wasn't right. This right.
See, so all of them there. So just bring over the demographic questions. Now, hold it. Shh. Sometimes we want to profile a segment psychographically. Let me step in here now. If I want to profile a segment psychographically, what types of questions I would have had on this question here? Psychographically. What types of questions I would have had on this question here? What are psychographics? Like what? When it is third year marketing students, and I'm real vexed that when they can't tell me what psychographics are. Because when I do consumer behavior, when I do principles, and when I do marketing management, or doing it. False. And personality. So if I had a scale measuring a person's personality, take down your mouth, Miss Grisette. Or I had a scale measuring their vowels category. Or I asked them questions like, where does do on a weekend? Are you an adventurous person? Okay, anytime I look at people's lifestyles, attitudes, activities, and opinions, I'm trying to profile them psychographically. And why would marketers do that? Because they want to reach people and promote to them in their living space. And if I realize that the majority of my target market are golfers, come on, man, I'm not going to sponsor a golf tournament. So it's very proper to profile people psychographically, because people buy products and services to live out particular lifestyles. Isn't that true? And if you are looking at values, you're looking at a person's resources and how innovative or how much they like brands. Like, you know that, for example, innovators have high resources. So you will know that if you profile your segment, and most of them come under the values category innovator, you know that you got to be putting out things faster, but you could charge top dollar for it because they got money. All right? So it's very important to be able, even sometimes more than demographically, folks. Because sometimes age just trick you. We assume that people of a certain age just behave a certain way. But that ain't true, because I see too much 60-year-old women now with tattoos. So them is a segment for the tattoo parlors. You understand what I'm saying? So sometimes we get tricked by making demographic assumptions. So that is why psychographic profiling is so very important. So if you see psychographic questions on a questionnaire, don't run from them. Run to them, because they will give you more information than those that sometimes they will verify what the demographics say, but sometimes they will cause you to wait. It happened to me very recently and looking at some data. So now I asked you to send over the demographic questions. What are the demographic questions on the questionnaire today? Gender, and what are some of the other common demographic questions we would have on questionnaires? Income. Anything else? How much children you have? Your race? Anything else would be a demographic question? Religion? Thank you, Mr. Gittings. Marital status. Sometimes that makes a difference in how people shop. I've seen a change in my buying behavior since I got married. I will, and my husband ain't, so somebody had to change. And it happened to me. I think I did. Yeah. The Bible says submit. God will bless it. All right? So, you don't agree with it? Cool, girl. It works. All you got to do, ladies, is that you make sure that you marry who God tell you to marry. Because he knows who you can submit to. You can't submit to somebody. It don't be that easy. You know, so ask God. He knows the future. Yeah. He ain't going to put you wrong. And if you hear you hollering no in your ear, that is not the devil. That is the Lord saving you from a lifetime of misery. Yeah. Anytime you run a test, you don't know if you do, just start over. But what I want to show you, though, you see these statistics and these charts on the right-hand side? You could click that and run a chart. You know how you see a bar chart and it will show you what percentage were male and what percentage were female? So let me put you all to run a little chart here now. So click on the charts. All right? Anybody, if you want to run a bar chart, run one. If you want to run a pie chart, run one. Somebody run a pie chart, somebody run a bar chart. Because sometimes, I always tell you, when you are preparing marketing research reports to people, they learn more and they assimilate more from pictures. So as much charts you could use and things, not charts, because they will get tired. But if it's something that's important, you really want them to see a visual representation of it, you need you a chart. So you click the chart that you want, and then click continue. And then after you click the chart you want, click continue, and then come on and click OK. All right, do you see the statistics? Yeah. We see some statistics. Go up to the top. You see the statistics at the top. And then you see then what you see at the bottom, the charts. So I want you now to write up a 2 or 3 line demographic profile for me. The typical Bubba's customer is, or Bubba's, the major age ranges for Bubba's or whatever. And then I want you to tell me about gender, or tell me about gender first and then tell me about age. Ranges. So you might say to Bubbas, look, any age comes into Bubbas. Or you might actually find concentrations in particular age groups. All right, or concentrations in particular income groups. So it will tell you the segments that you now need to try to reach out to, okay, are the segments that you just need to reinforce and strengthen because they're your people already. You know, so look at doing a demographic profile tells you a whole lot. All right, let's discuss that demographic profile. What patterns are you seeing in the data? Of the 400 persons, what tell me? Let me talk about the gender profile. The majority are male. What percentage male? You can tell me about majority. You can also verify it by putting in the percentages. What percentage will be male? 75% male and 25% what? Female. So for every 3 males who come through Bubbas is 1 lady. So Bubbas needs to figure out now why the women aren't coming. And how to target them. Yeah. Tell me about the age profile. Are you following me? Tell me about the age profile. 50%? Where is Mr. Gay? He's the one that said that he can't hear me. Where he gone? Oh, 50% what? 50%. Let me write that down. So the demographic profile is, let me write that down. Primarily male. And then you're telling me what? The age is concentrated in 2 segments, right? That is 2? Yeah. All right, the first one is what? 19 to 25 and? Bubbas is not attracting the older crowd. All right. Now I want to show y'all something. That is looking at each demographic question on their own. But suppose Bubbas they want to get deeper. What could, if they wanted to do a deeper demographic profile, what are some of the questions they could look at? They could look to see males in which age range. You understand what I mean? Or females in which age range come to Bubbas. So they will have to do now what we call, they will have to look at a relationship and they will have to run a cross tabulation where they might put, hold on, gender up here and then age ranges down here. So then if this is male and this is female, what are the age ranges? 19 to 25, 26 to 35. What else? 36 to 45 and 46 to 55. They will look to see now, watch the cross tabulation. Look at the board. They'll be looking to see how many males in the 19 to 25 age range, how many females in the 19 to 25, how many males in the 26 to 35, and how many females in the 26 to 35. Well, we realize that they have nobody in these age ranges. Suppose they realize that the majority of the females were 19 to 25. Suppose they found that 75% of the females were 19 to 25. Right? So the other 25% would be 26 to 35. But then they found that 25% of the males were 19 to 25, but 75% of the males were 26 to 35. So they're realizing now that they're attracting because young girls like the Davis, if they couples, so old men. So Bubbas is a hangout for people to do wrong things when they should be home with their wives. All right, but Y'all get what I'm saying? Right? So you may want to go deeper and say, oh yeah, males, but in which income category? Which, you understand? So if you want to do a deeper demographic profile, you are going into what we call inferential statistics. Listen to me. You know why you into inferential statistics? Because you know beginning to look at relationships between two variables. I ain't get to that yet. All right? And I'm not going to show you how to do inferential statistics with this data set, but I'm going to show you how to do it with the next one. But I wanted to show you that you can do a deeper demographic profile by beginning to cross and look at the relationships between demographic variables. You missed a very important point. Let me repeat it. I mean you. Now, you got this far where we said male is primarily male and is concentrated in two age segments. You got there? You reached that point? When I asked you to profile the right, you got there? But I said that sometimes you may want to find out, yes, I have primarily males, but in which age range? Which age male is more prevalent in Bubba's? So then I would actually do a deeper demographic profile where I might cross gender by age. So I will run a cross tabulation, and I will look to see how many males in the 19 to 25. How many males in the 26 to 35? Because I only had 19 to 25 and 26 to 35. And how many females in the 19 to 25 and how many females in the 26 to 35? When I say suppose you realize, wait, you're getting primarily younger females, 19 to 25, and then maybe males who are 26 to 35. So you realize I got a different segment of females versus a different segment of males. They're not all 26 to 35. So if I found mostly males 26 to 35 and mostly females 26 to 35, that might be I might realize Bubba's is a haunt for young upcoming professionals. But then when I find out, oh, these young girls standing Bubba's and then these older men might be more suspect. You know what I'm saying? Where is my phone? Oh yeah, I put it to charge. Who's this calling me now? I got some people at my house, so I gotta check what's going on. Yeah, Colin. Oh, yeah, I teach anytime we want. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's one of my tutorial leaders, so I had to answer him too. Yeah. I remember to do that for him. So y'all with me? So if you won't really begin to drill down to who is your key segment or segments. You can start to cross multiple demographic variables. You could even cross demographic variables with what? Psychographic variables. You could even cross demographic variables with behavioral variables. Because you might realize that mostly men just come on a weekend, but the women just come during the week. Or men just come once a week, but women just come once per month. So women just come in to get paid because it's too expensive, but men feel that that's the only place that they can hang out. So you will learn a lot by just crossing maybe the demographic variables, we say graph variables. But I ain't showing you the tests for crossing because the tests for crossing are higher level statistical tests. They're inferential statistics. So I'm going to show you that with the next data set. But if you had this data set, you could have done that as well. All right? So it is all right to know how to run the test, but it's more important to know what the test means and what the test will show you. All right? I want you to run a behavioral profile for me now, please. You got to scribble down these things because when you're looking back, sometimes it's confused you. Now, the beauty of Dwayne's handout is that he showed the screen. So he's going to show the screen with the analyze, the screen with the descriptivity, the screen with the frequency. So he's going to show you step by step by step. But you still need my little handout because my little handout does give you a broad overview. All right, when you run in, if you got a nominal variable, what you have to do. It's all right to see all these steps, but if you don't know which variable, you have to do those steps with you in a way. So you have to use the two handouts hand in hand. Oh, you want to clear the screen? You click back over the data that is in the right box and click it in the middle arrow and it goes back into the left. And that says you don't want to use it anymore. You want to bring over fresh variables to make an analysis. And remember, you could also go deeper and cross behavioral questions with demographic questions. So you could look now and run across them and see what are the women's favorite sport versus what is the men's favorite sport. What is the favorite sport of a particular age range? What do young people like? What do 1925 young people like? Or do the young people come on the weekends but the old people come during the week because they want to avoid the rab-rab? So you can learn a lot by actually crossing demographic variables with behavioral variables. But all I'm asking you to do here for me now is just look at the behavioral variables on their own and just describe for me. Because the minute you begin to cross, we're into inferential statistics, and I ain't sure one of them tests yet. I can show you all those tests with the next data set. But I'm still talking about it so you can, when you look at the data, you can look at the data, not just looking at it as a test, but look at it as what the data can show you. All right, so I want you to run a, y'all following me down here? I want you to run a behavioral profile for me. Huh? 5. Question 5 is what?
Coverage could be improved.
Mr. Gates asking me. Question 5. What kind of question is question 5? There's a what? There's a what? That's an attitudinal question. So even though it's a yes or no and it is nominally scaled, I will look at it under my attitude questions. I could have called it, do you think the coverage could be improved, or the coverage at Bubbers need to be improved, and I could have put strongly agree down to strongly disagree. So really and truthfully, that question is not designed properly because it's an attitude question, and I really should have used an interval scale there. All right? So thanks for that. But sometimes you see attitude questions that are yes or no. All right? And really and truthfully, you still have to run a frequency or a percentage for them. You really only run means and standard deviations for questions that are intervally scaled. But it is wise to put your attitude questions on interval or Likert scales. Y'all have that? Thanks for that observation, Mr. Gay. That was a very important one. So I also want question 5 to be run here when you are looking at the key attitudes and opinions. So questions 1 down to 4, that's it. Those would tell me how people behave towards or in Bubbers. Write a behavioral profile for me. So I want you to profile these folks behaviorally and be mindful that I could have, if I wanted to go deeper, I could have looked at what is your agenda by when you come. I could have looked at what is your agenda by how often you come. I could have looked at what is your agenda. These are behavioral questions by demographic questions by your favorite sport, so I would know what the men like versus what the women like. I could have looked at your age by, I don't know, when you come, y'all understand what I'm saying? So I could do cross tabulations to drag out, you know, what's really happening there. Age by, I don't know, a major reason. Are older persons coming for this? Younger? I could look at age by favorite sport. And those will give me an even deeper profile. However, you have an individual SPSS assignment. If I ask you to profile the segment, I'm only asking for the singular statistics. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not asking you to give me, I can't remember what I put for your assignment. I did a few weeks ago. My brain fried right now. I can't tell when I put there. But if on that project I asked you to profile the segment for me, demographic or behaviorally, all I want is the single descriptive statistics. I don't want you to start going deep like that. Yeah? I'm not asking for that at this point. I will ask for that a little later, but I ain't asking for that. So if I ask you just for demographic profile or psychographic profile, just give me the single statistic. You know, if it is a nominally scaled question, you're going to run percentages and frequencies, and for whatever reason is a different scale, you know you got to run different statistics. So could somebody describe the sample that I took for Bubbers, which is representative of the overall patronage of Bubbers? Could you tell me what the behavioral profile is? Would somebody volunteer to tell me? Are you into it yet? You ain't finished it yet? All right, most persons come to Bubbers every 2 to 3 weeks. What percentage was that? But they just report. Why don't I know what the data? Y'all telling me? So tell me again. Most persons come once per week. We are looking at the frequencies. What are the frequencies saying? 50% come once per week. And then when the rest come, 25% come every 2 to 3 weeks, and 25% come once per week. Once per month. All right. So the majority of persons come once per week. When else do the majority of persons, when do they normally come? What days? So most people does bong and bubbles on the weekend, once per week. So everybody had on weekends. Oh my. What going on here? I guess Bubbles may have a few people coming in during the week who weren't captured by the questionnaire. But really and truthfully, Bubbles need to do something with the weekday offerings, or only open Bubbles as a weekend shop. That is sad but true. It would tell me that if I get most people coming on weekends, I need to look and see what is happening during the week. And I also need to know that I am in tip-top condition on weekends, because that is when people are coming in. All right, they go ramp up. All right, and then, as I said, you might have looked at gender by how often they come, or gender when they come, or age when they come, etc. All right, I want you to tell me now. Now, you have a multiple item scale there at 6 that is looking at how people feel about Bubbles, how they feel about it. All right, so question 5 is also a feeling question. So run question 5 because that's a nominally scaled question, so you got to run a percentage for that too, and tell me what happened there with question 5. So run the analyze descriptive statistics frequencies again with question 5 and tell me what is happening there. That's a feelings question, but it is nominally scaled, so you have to use the descriptive statistics. The following percent takes the non-response into consideration. You'll see that a little later down. The valid, they takes non-response into consideration. All right, so it works out the percentage excluding the non-responses, excluding the missing. All right. Yeah, the valid percent would be more accurate. Huh? I said that is nominally scaled, so if it is an attitude question, but you will still run a percentage. Normally but these are attitude questions and that is 1, 2. But since that is nominally scaled, yes or no, you have to run a percentage for it. Huh? You got to run them individually? Yeah. All right, okay. What is the response on question 5? Does the sports coverage need to be improved? What percentage said yes? Excuse me. If you gave that questionnaire to 400 people, how many persons said that Bubba's sports coverage need to be improved? 100. Bubba's is a sports bar. Bubba's is not a restaurant with a TV and a screen where people happen to watch sports. 25% of your sample say your sports coverage needs to be improved. Your door is open for competition to jump in. That is a problem. Y'all understand what I'm saying? 25% is too high. That's a problem. We got to think like marketers now. I am a sports bar and 25% of my sample says that my sports coverage needs to be improved. Who? No, I'm not saying that. You as the marketer and you as the management of Bubba's God know it's too high. If you serve, it can be over 5%, but you know you have a big problem because it's 25%. I'm not giving you any standards. For some businesses, we'll say, oh shoot, it's over 10%, because you know there are some businesses that have like gold standards. So when we run our survey, we gotta make sure that at least 90% say that the coverage is good, or we gotta fix that. All right, so you gotta work with the company and figure out what's satisfactory for them. But for me, that is a problem. That is too high. 1 out of every is a sports bar, and 1 out of every 4 persons say the coverage needs to be improved. It's a sports bar thing. That's too high. All right? It gotta be less than that. All right? So, any other things you're finding out about them? So they come on weekends, once a week. Same wrong with the sports coverage. Let's now look at the other attitudinal questions. You're all right, darling. The other attitudinal questions. Those other attitudinal questions were measured on what type of scale? The other attitudinal questions were measured on what type of scale? Huh? Interval. So coverage needs addressing. 25% dissatisfied. Red flag. All right, folks. You want me to tell you now how to run a frequency or a percentage at the front of your thing? Well, analyze. It's not analyze. Not the frequencies. Go on. Come out. We running the means and standard deviations now. Analyze. Put your name on that.
No, right.
Analyze.
I was waiting for you to finish.
Descriptive. No, you can leave it. Descriptive statistics. Descriptives.
Okay.
Yeah, a minute. Yeah. Analyze. Descriptive statistics. Descriptives. You can find this by frequencies too, but using descriptive so you know something else. Send over the interval scale questions and then click options. I may actually have a different way to do it on my handout, but there are several ways you can run means and standard deviations and frequencies and SPSS. All of them tell you the same thing. So analyze, descriptive statistics, descriptives, send over the interval scale questions and click options. When you go by options, you should see some statistical tests that you can run. And in those options, you should see means and standard deviations. You see them? Well, click those that you want those. So if you want to go analyze, descriptive statistics, descriptives, click over the interval scale attitudinal questions. Remember, for some of your questionnaires, you may have used your attitudes as yes or no, but for most of them, I would have seen interval scale questions for your questionnaires. Click the options. Tell the system that you want means and standard deviations. Let's do a little refresher here. Why do we run a standard deviation? We want to know the spread of the actual data around the calculated mean. The mean is a calculation, you know. Just like how the frequency is a calculation, the mean is 1. All right, so we might have run and found that the average feeling is X, Y, or Z, but we want to see where there's a calculation, where the actual person said, because if we are finding them more close to the mean, all right, when we look, we will know that this mean is really a true mean. But if, for example, we have most people at 5, some at 5, and some at strongly disagree, 1, we will realize that the mean really has a wide spread of actual data around it. So that mean is really a true mean. And the standard deviation tells you, because the smaller the standard deviation, the smaller the standard deviation, the closer the actual statistics are up under the calculated mean. So you really like a standard deviation that is small, because it says to you that the mean is a true mean. I tell you something. When you calculate means and then you realize you got a standard deviation, normally with a 5-point scale, I don't like a standard deviation that is greater than 1. But if you got a 5-point scale and you realize you got a big standard deviation, you know what I tell people to do? Look back at the frequencies. Because when you look back at the frequencies, you will actually now take an interval scale question and look at the frequencies, because then it's going to show you what percentage was a 1, what percentage, in this case, what percentage was excellent, what percentage was good, what percentage was poor, what percentage fair. Because if the standard deviation is too big, you ain't really sure what that average means. So you look back at the, are you following me? You look back at the frequency tables and you will see where persons were situated where they're mostly at 5 or they're mostly at 1. So sometimes when your standard deviation is too big, you actually back down and run a frequency to see what percentage say good, what percentage say average. But you don't normally do that. Normally, if you have an interval scale question, you run means and standard deviations. But if the standard deviation is too large, you just back down and run a frequency. Am I making sense to y'all? Are y'all lost? Who? One or less, yeah. I like a sign for a 5-point scale, 1 or less. Do y'all understand what I just said? Or it don't make no sense? It doesn't make any sense. Let me go down here and say it again. That's the thing. When I done teach this SPS, it's 9 hours. I done work for my money for the whole semester, I'm telling you. Because I just got to walk the whole room and say things 500 times. But that is all right. That's my job. I accustomed. Let me repeat it for you. Now, when you run a mean, you have to run a standard deviation. A mean is an average. It is a calculation. The standard deviation tells you how the actual responses from the respondents are situated around the calculated mean. A small standard deviation tells you that the actual responses are close to the calculated mean. So that mean is a true representation of the data because the actual responses are close upon it. But you might realize you got calculated mean of 3, but then you got standard deviation of 1.5. So it tells me that you may actually have a lot of people at 1s, which is strongly agree, and then a whole set of people that strongly disagree. So when you get a mean of 3, you must say, people feel kind of average about bubbles. Is not true. People don't feel average about bubbles. It is that you have 2 sets of people at the ends. So when you've worked out the average, you've gotten an average in the middle. And you will know that really and truthfully that 3 is not a true representation because the standard deviation is too large. So sometimes when you realize you have that, you say, what's really going on here? People feel average about bubbles, or it may be a case that they got a whole set of people that feel really good about it and then a whole set of people that feel bad. So the only way you're going to really know is if you walk away from the mean and the standard deviation and you run a percentage. Because you will take an interval scale question out and actually run a percentage on it, which is not what you're supposed to do. You're only supposed to do that for nominally scale questions. But when I realize my standard deviation is too large, I will look to see now what percentage said excellent, what percentage said poor. So that will allow me to see if really and truthfully most people are in the middle in their feeling about bubbles, or if really I have two segments who are on 2 different ends of the continuum. So I now got to realize that I got 25% of people who strongly disagree about something about bubbles, and they got to deal with it. Are y'all following me now? You got that? If you don't have it, I can say it one more time. I think I have the gas to say that one more time. Okay, good. So let's run our mean standard deviations. Remember, I told you analyze, descriptive statistics, descriptives, send over the intervals. Or remember, ratio questions are treated the same way as interval scale questions. Yes. Yeah. So what is wrong with what you have there? No, you shouldn't. You shouldn't be getting. You shouldn't be getting that. Doesn't make sense. The system needs to know that 99 is missing. That ain't make no sense. I don't know what's wrong with your data, Dawn. You shouldn't be seeing that because that's because it's taking 99 into consideration. It doesn't matter. All maximum is the highest response that was given, and all minimum is low. Now, I want to say something here to y'all. This is very, very, very important. You are the person who assign numbers to those words. How many of you let excellent be a 5, poor be a 4, 3 be, 3 your average? How many persons made 5 excellent? Put up your hands. Good. So, what are you looking for a mean that is closer to know that that particular thing was excellent? You're looking for a mean that is close to 5. How many of you let 1 be excellent? So you are looking for a smaller mean to signify excellence. You are the one who identified the number. So you have to tell me when you're writing up my report, on my scale, I let 5 be excellent, or I let 1 be excellent. You got to tell the marketer that, so he knows what you coded excellence as. All right. So you're gonna tell me what your data says based on how you put in the data. So I want you to tell me now how people feel. It's gonna take a little while on all those aspects of bubbles, based on the means and standard deviations. So you have the means and standard deviations in front of you. Is there any mean that is suspect? Is there any mean that you ain't sure whether is a true mean or not? Which one? Affordability. I would advise you all to run a frequency on that. I would advise you all to go and run a frequency on that. The maximum and minimum. Let me tell you what the maximum and the minimum is. All the maximum and minimum is that it lets you know what were the points that people respond, what was the minimum response given. So what is the maximum for affordability of prices? Huh? It's 4. So there was nobody who has circled a 5. And what's the minimum response to affordability of prices? 2. So there's nobody who has circled a 1. The maximum and minimum tell you where people fell on the scale. So if there was nobody who circled a 1, you will see the minimum response was 2. If there was nobody who circled a 5, you will see the maximum response was a 4. For us, sometimes it's be necessary because you want to see if people are responding at the extremes of the scale or not. You understand what I'm saying? If they're not on the extremes of the scale, why aren't they going on the extremes of the scale? Because they're seeing you as kind of like in the middle and average, but they might not be seeing you as great. You get what I'm saying? And that's the problem. All right, Gay's asking an important question. If, for example, you have rated 5 as excellent, you've rated 5 as excellent, but when you look at your maximum and minimums, you ain't seeing the 5s. What it tell you? It tell you that mean is shown. It tells you that nobody really see bubbles as great. You get what I'm saying? And that is a problem. Because nobody in circle 5, not other than they 500 people, not a soul in circle 5 on that question. That's a problem. You got to take a look at marketing now. Take a look at marketing in final year. So I would go, because I have a suspect standard deviation, and I would run a frequency on affordability of prices and let us see, even though we shouldn't be doing that intervally scale questions, go a little deeper there and tell me what that frequency says. So run a frequency on that, and then I want you to write up the key attitudes and opinions on bubbles for me, including what that frequency said, because you had to look at that data a bit deeper. All of them. Let me say that again. I want you now to report on all the key attitudes towards bubbles, which is all of the question 6s. 3. You also you reported on 5. You told the coverage. We know the coverage needs to be improved. We know that we know that, but we're trying to find out more. So we know we got to run some means and standard deviations. But we realize when we run the means and standard deviation for affordability of prices, that affordability of prices has a standard deviation of 1.16. So you're looking at me like then responses spread out. So to really know what's happening there, if I have a standard deviation that is over 1, I will go and I will run a frequency there too. Right? Now let me say something real good. For your individual assignment, you might not be required to do these things, but you have to go there and do marketing research for people. So I got to tell you, when you see data in front of you and it looks funny, what you have to do, you got a standard deviation that is greater than 1, especially for a 5-point scale. You got to look at that. So you got to go now and check to see where the actual persons fell on that. So run a frequency for that, and then I want you to write up, to give me a write-up on all the key attitudes and opinions of others. So N would be all the valid responses on that question. Not the sample size, sorry. N would be all the valid responses on that question. If you put in the 99, it's going to reduce N by 1. This is a good question from Dawn. I would report the mean and the standard deviation, but then I will go and do some more reporting about the percentages. Because what are you seeing with those percentages? 50-50 where and where? Ah. So what was poor and good? So what was the mean like? The mean was kind of like what? So 3.7, so you feeling, yeah, these people kind of average. No, folks. You got half of you sample coming down, poor and half good. You got to check that. That's trouble. So you understand what I'm saying? Half the people who come into bubbles think the prices are good. Half think they're bad. That mean would make you think that they all think that it's kind of like averagey, goody. But no. You got some pores in there. And you only found that out because you ran the frequencies, and you were led to run the frequencies because the standard deviation was too high. So what you finding out now, you look at the prices, can you put faith in that mean? I will put faith in that mean. Because 50% of people said that they think poor. And I get in the mean of 3 point something. So that's really a calculated mean, folks. That ain't a real picture of what's going on. Too many people say this thing is poor. Alright, so standard deviation, I ain't putting a value in the standard deviation, that's what we want. I will run the frequency and look and see what's going on. Yeah? Alright. So I want the profile now. Tell me about bubbas. The attitudes towards bubbas. What about how they feel about, what is the most highly rated aspect of bubbles? The location. What is the mean on that? 4? Right. And for those of you who would have done 1 as an excellent, what is the mean on that? Those of you who put 1 as excellent, what is the mean on location for bubbles? Because it will only be 4 for the persons who put 5 as excellent. But if you had rated 1 as excellent, what is the mean on that? The mean is what? 2. So on average, people feel, how's the scale? 1 is excellent, 2 is good. What's 4 on your thing? 4 is good. So watch. So on average, persons feel that bubbles has a good location, right? And this is supported by an average of what? 2, which represents good on the scale. So if you had put in 5 as excellent, are you following me, Lisa? You would have gotten a mean of 4. If you had put in 1 as excellent, you would have gotten a mean of 2. What is next in terms of rating? What gets the second best rating? Who? What's that? Speed of service. The speed of service. The bar. Attitude to customers. All right, hold on a minute. Are you satisfied with that rating? Out of 5? As a marketer? Are you satisfied with those ratings? 3.5. Let me show you what it's do, right? Let me show you how it's think. Watch. If 5 is excellent, 4 is good, 3 is average, 2 is poor, and 1 is very poor. Location is here, right? We ain't getting the 5s yet. I really would have liked to see something in between here. Because it's very difficult to get everybody rating 5. But as a marketer, I would like to see most of my points coming in there. Especially the key things. Like the bar, because it's a sports bar. The sports coverage. Not necessarily the food. They got some people who say, well, you can get pub food in there. But there's some key aspects of a sports bar. The bar, the sports coverage, not so much the service. You know, you watch Cheers on TV and, you know, people hanging out together. You might not get the drink right away. But what are the key aspects of a sports bar? You want to find them coming in here, folks. When I'm telling you something, I get rated as a lecturer. If I am under 4 on anything, it is, I don't say it's mass panic, but it's problems. And I know I got to fix it. All right? I want to get in here. I want to get as close to this as possible. All right? So, affordability of prices. That what got me a little scared. Because that's down there, and when I look, I find in a lot of people who are saying it is what? Too many people. When I run the frequency, too many persons who saying it is poor. So we finding a lot of the responses coming in here. So you might gotta exercise some caution there. You gotta exercise some caution. And the lowest rating is the prices, right? Lowest mean? So bubbles is kind of average, tending to good on a lot of things. Prices are poor, and the location is seen as a plus. All right, so there's room for improvement in bubbles. So would you say we learn a lot from just looking at just descriptive statistics? We ain't doing no crossing yet, you know. We ain't looking at the relationship. We ain't going deeper yet, you know, but we learn a whole lot. So when you get your data set, run those first. You'll be able to do maybe a demographic profile, a behavioral profile, and look at the key attitudes on their own. You know, if it is interval and interval or ratio, you can run a mean and a standard deviation. Now I want to take a 5-minute break, and then I want to move into another data set where I want to do this all over again, but then I want to begin to look at inferential statistics, and we will continue with that data set next week, where I want to look at inferential statistics. I want to look at how you begin to look at relationships. I got to teach you something that ain't that easy to understand, and I might have to repeat it about 3 or 4 times, but it'll be all right because I'm accustomed to doing it. So let's take a break. Data set 3 on e-learning. I want you to spend about 5 minutes. You don't have a questionnaire in front of you. I want you to spend about 5 to 10 minutes studying those questions and envisioning what the questionnaire was for and why the people asked those questions. There's a big fat data set there now. So we can work with that. But I want you to think it through first. I don't have no questionnaire to give you. So you look through the value labels, and you look at how the question was defined, the questions that were asked and things, and you write down maybe 2 or 3 of the research objectives before we go any further. Yeah, the financial firm customer data. You got that? To have a look at those, go to the variable view and have a look at that. So remember what I told you, the first 4 questions of your individual assignment can be done based on what I would have taught you already today. You just look and see if the question is nominally scaled where you're running frequency. If it is intervally scaled or ratio where you're running a mean and a standard deviation. Fine. Look now at this data set, and I want you, go in the variable view, and I want you to begin to tell me what were some of the research objectives that this financial firm had. Just look at the questions. You're going to spend time, because you don't got a questionnaire in front of you. You are just the data analyst. You don't have the questionnaire in front of you. So scribble down what these people really had. So what types of questions we have there? Any demographic questions? Yeah. What we have? Age, gender. I want y'all to note something. We have age, and then at the bottom we have age cat. Age is what kind of question? Huh? What type of question is age? It's ratio. And you know what? You don't need to define ratio questions. When you look in the values, what are you seeing anything by the ratio questions? None. You know why? It's just typing real numbers. So if they made $2 million in sales, you type in 2,000,000. But ratio questions are real numbers. So if I ask somebody age, I would just type it in. But it was wise to go down there and make a what age? Cat. Right? Because we know that sometimes people don't respond. So the age category there now is, what kind of question is that? That is a, what type of question is that? Interval, ordinal, nominal, or ratio? Has to be nominal, because I've now put that data into ranges. So I have age cat. If I wanted to demographically profile this segment, I would look at gender, age, cat. Anything else? race, income, anything else? Industry where the client works and employment status. Yeah, those would be my demographic questions. Are there any other types of questions there? And all those questions, are they all nominally scaled? Check and see. Age cat is nominal. We know that those are in ranges. What about sex or gender? Yeah. What about employment status? All those questions are going to be nominal, right? Because all those questions are mutually exclusive categories. You can't be a joiner and a painter too. You can't be 26 to 35 and 49 to 55. All of those categorical demographic questions will be nominal, with the exception of the age, which we put down as what? Racial. Is what we putting people in categories. And why do we put people in categories as markers? Because we want to identify the S word. Segments. Segments are categories, groups. Yeah? So what any other types of questions we have there? That question there, aware. Aware. We got to choose. But that aware question there. Are you what? Are you aware of the what? New mortgage plan. What are these folks trying to do? They're trying to find out if their promotion strategy for the new mortgage plan is creating the level of awareness. And they may also then begin to look at awareness by gender, awareness by industry, awareness by race. How is awareness measured? Is that nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio? Is that nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio? It's nominal because it's a yes or no question. All yes or no questions are nominal. You either in this mutually exclusive block which said yes, or that mutually exclusive block which said no. And then we have some attitude questions. What's the scale they're measured on? Excellent to poor? Strongly agree to strongly disagree? Very important. All those are interval. We're going now from very dissatisfied down to very satisfied. That's a continuum. So we know that's an interval question. Yeah? Do we have any racial questions in there besides age? How many years you've been a client of the business? That is a what? A ratio. You just type in the real numbers. And how many client accounts do you have at our business? Yeah, that's a real number. All right, so that's ratio data. All right, and then the age category. So I want you to know quickly, what are some of the research objectives of this this data? Let's write up the research objectives. What are some of the research objectives? 1, what do they want to find out? They may want to do a profile of their customer base. I've given you the first one. Anything else? They may want to profile their customer base, so they can profile it demographically, psychographically, or behaviorally. So under that, I will be looking at what types of questions? I'll be looking at their what? Gender, age, marital status, race, employment category. Do I have an employment category? Income. What else? Anything else? All right. Any other research objectives? Anything else you're interested in? Look at the data. They're offering a new mortgage plan. So they want to know the level of awareness of new mortgage plan. And really and truthfully, folks, that deeper than that, they want to know if the promotion campaign is working. Yeah? They ask about it, you know. But it's only obvious they got some type of promotions campaign or however they're trying to disseminate information about this mortgage plan. One of is working. Any other objectives? Let me hear somebody down here. Any other objectives? Look at the data. Look at the data. Huh? Yes, they want to know. That is actually part of their behavioral profile gettings. All right, they may want to know current relationship with bank, with institution. So we want to know if we have long-standing clients, etc. So we want to know like length of time, customers. Anything else will tell you their relationship. How many accounts they have. So this is kind of like the behavioral profile here. Anything else that will tell you how they relate to this financial institution? The length of time and how many accounts they have? No, because there's no missing data in there. Yeah, not missing data. There's no definition for missing data in there. That is why you see none. But they might have missing data in there. It's just that they probably left it blank if they had missing data. But if you see none, I'm assuming that each and every person answered each and every question. All right? Current relationship with institutions, behavioral profile. Anything else I want to do with this? There's one other area of the questionnaire y'all ain't telling me. Yeah, how satisfied are they with the various aspects of the financial institution. Right? Because you want to know what needs to be improved. Areas of strength, areas of weakness. Folks, that's all this questionnaire really wants to do. So now we have identified the research objectives. We will come next week and we will